Hey everyone, welcome back to Midnight Recaps. Imagine making one simple wish for the girl you've loved your entire life, only to discover that your wish has trapped her inside her own body while something else takes control. Tonight's nightmare is Obsession 2026. The movie begins with a young man named Bear Bailey. He's at a local diner practicing how he's going to confess his feelings to his childhood friend, Nikki Freeman. A waitress listens patiently and tells him his speech is sweet, but Bear's best friend, Ian, thinks it's cheesy. Bear has been in love with Nikki for years and just wants the right moment to tell her how he feels. Later that day, Bear returns home and discovers that his pet cat, Sandy, has died after accidentally eating his oxycodone pills. Heartbroken, he places Sandy's body in a garbage bag before quietly grieving alone in his room. Not long after, Bear talks to Nikki on the phone. During their conversation, she mentions that she's planning to quit their job soon and also tells him she accidentally dropped her crystal necklace into a sewer drain. Wanting to cheer her up, Bear visits a small antique shop to buy her another necklace. While he's there, he notices a strange item called a one-wish willow. Curious, he buys it along with the necklace. That evening, Bear, Nikki, Ian, and their friend Sarah all meet for trivia night. Bear tells Nikki about Sandy's death, and she comforts him with a warm hug. After the game, Bear offers to drive Nikki home, hoping this will finally be the perfect time to confess his feelings. Unfortunately, things don't go as planned. He gets nervous, accidentally calls her Freaky Nikki, a nickname she absolutely hates, and completely loses his confidence. Nikki even asks him directly if he has feelings for her, but Bear quickly denies it. After Nikki goes inside, Bear takes out the one-wish willow. Following the instructions, he breaks it in half and wishes that Nikki would love him more than anyone else in the world. Only seconds later, Nikki suddenly comes back outside, but something about her feels completely different. She desperately asks Bear to come inside with her. When he refuses, she insists on going home with him instead, claiming she doesn't want to be alone because her father is dying of cancer. Once they arrive at Bear's house, Nikki unexpectedly asks him to sleep with her. They begin kissing, but she suddenly freezes in fear after believing she saw something standing behind Bear. Later that night, Bear becomes curious about the strange willow and searches for it online. He finds mixed reviews. Some people claim it really grants wishes, while others dismiss it as nothing more than a scam. The next morning, Bear wakes up to another surprise. Nikki has taken Sandy's body out of the trash and carefully arranged a memorial for the cat on the kitchen floor. While Nikki thinks she's doing something thoughtful, Bear is disturbed by the whole situation. Nikki herself admits she feels like something is making her behave strangely. Despite the odd behavior, Bear and Nikki officially begin dating. Their relationship moves so quickly that Ian and Sarah can't understand what happened. While the couple is having dinner together one night, Ian calls Bear with some troubling information. After doing some research, he discovers that Nikki's father isn't sick at all. In fact, he's perfectly healthy, and Nikki barely has a relationship with him. Ian also reveals that Sarah once heard Nikki describe Bear as nothing more than a little brother. Bear asks Nikki about the lie, and she suddenly throws a loud emotional tantrum right in the middle of the restaurant. Eventually, Bear calms her down, and they head back to his house, where they spend the night together. Even then, Nikki still doesn't seem fully in control of herself. That night, Bear wakes up to find Nikki silently standing in the corner of his bedroom, simply staring at him. The sight completely terrifies him. After asking her several times, she finally comes back to bed. But when Bear later tries to get up, Nikki screams at him, demanding that he stay beside her. The following morning, Bear notices that Nikki has cut some of his hair while he was sleeping. He gently tells her not to do anything strange again. Nikki promises she won't and even packs him a lunch for work. As Bear leaves the house, he notices something else. Nikki has covered the entire front door with duct tape. He still manages to open the door and leave for work. Nikki simply stands there smiling while urinating on herself, acting as though nothing is wrong. At work, Bear has already taken a bite of the lunch Nikki packed for him. As they talk, Sarah notices a note that reads, "How's the verdict?" Cat? Curious, Bear lifts the bread from his sandwich and is horrified to find Sandy's severed paw hidden inside. The gruesome discovery immediately makes him throw up. Desperate for answers, Bear calls the customer service number listed for the One Wish Willow. A representative calmly explains that once a wish has been made, it cannot be cancelled. The only way it ends is when the person who made the wish dies. Then the representative does something even stranger. He transfers the call to whom he claims is the real Nikki. All Bear hears is terrified screaming before he quickly hangs up in panic. When Bear returns home, Nikki is still standing exactly where he left her earlier. She's now covered in urine, vomit, and feces before casually walking off to clean herself in the bathroom. Concerned for his friend, Ian invites Bear to a party, hoping it will help distract him. Bear tries to go alone, but Nikki refuses to let him leave without her, so he reluctantly brings her along. During the party, everyone plays a game of drunk Jenga. When it's Nikki's turn, she stands up and delivers an uncomfortable version of Hansel and Gretel that includes inappropriate family themes, leaving everyone speechless. Later, Bear draws a block instructing him to kiss the person sitting to his left. That person is Sarah. Before Bear can react, Nikki quickly drags Sarah aside and takes her place, forcing Bear to kiss her instead. Almost immediately afterward, Nikki briefly seems to regain control of herself. In a desperate attempt to stop whatever is happening, she grabs a broken beer bottle and repeatedly stabs herself in the face. Bear sits frozen in his seat, too shocked to react, while everyone else rushes to help her. Bear rushes her to the hospital, hoping doctors can help, but for reasons that are never clearly explained, they refuse to admit her. After bringing Nikki home, Bear receives a message from Sarah asking him to meet her. As he's leaving, the real Nikki briefly returns and quietly begs Bear to kill her while the other version of herself is asleep. Instead of answering, Bear sadly asks what could possibly be so terrible about being with him before leaving to meet Sarah. Bear meets Sarah inside her car. She finally reveals the truth. For years, Nikki and Ian secretly had an on-and-off relationship. Ian believes Nikki only started dating Bear to make him jealous. Sarah also hints that she has feelings for Bear. Before either of them can say anything more, Nikki suddenly attacks. She smashes through the car window and brutally slams her head against a brick over and over until Sarah dies. A traumatized Bear is then forced to help Nikki hide the body. Hoping to fix everything, Bear returns to the antique shop and buys another One Wish Willow. However, this time he can't activate it because each person only gets one wish. He then visits Ian and explains everything that has happened. Desperate, he begs Ian to make a wish that would erase his original wish. But Ian doesn't believe any of it and jokingly wishes for $1 billion. To Ian's complete shock, money immediately begins raining from the ceiling. Bear stands there in silence, realizing the only chance he had to reverse his wish has just been wasted. Bear rushes home only to discover that Nikki has placed Sarah's dead body on display in the living room. He tries convincing Nikki to use another willow and undo everything, but instead she grabs a gun and decides that both of them should die together. At that exact moment, Ian unexpectedly arrives. Nikki immediately shoots him in the head, killing him instantly. With no other options left, Bear locks himself inside the bathroom. He first considers shooting himself, but instead decides to overdose on the same oxycodone pills that accidentally killed Sandy. When Bear finally walks back out, Nikki has already used her own wish. She wished for Bear to love her just as much as she loved him. The two share one final kiss before Bear collapses from the overdose. As Bear dies, the original wish finally comes to an end. Nikki instantly returns to normal. Looking around the room, she suddenly realizes she's surrounded by Bear, Ian, and Sarah's dead bodies. Overwhelmed by the horrifying reality of everything that happened, Nikki breaks down screaming as the movie comes to an end. And that's how tonight's nightmare comes to an end. What did you think of this movie? Let me know in the comments. And if you're craving another terrifying story, tap the video on your screen right now. Trust me, you don't want to miss this one.